Hi everyone, trust you all are doing well. So what I'm going to do in this one is we're going to display the post of the current logged in writer. All right. So then we're going to get all their posts and display them right here. Okay. So in this case, we're going to use the same post index and create right here. This one in the site nav. So if the person is not a writer, basically they will see everyone's post. If they are a writer, they will only see their post. All right. There's a number of ways we can do this, but I will explain to you in a second. All right. So let's get started. All right. The first and most obvious way is actually to display the post that actually go to the view, depending if the person is authenticated or not. So you can actually add here a couple of if statements. So if the user, but then you need to also check this as well. All right. So if the user is this, then do this. If the user is a writer, then do this. All right. So we can add that couple of if statements. Now, personally, like I said, a lot of the things I do is personal preference. I don't mind to have 1,000 different controllers in my application that only have one method in them. I'm completely okay with that. All right, as long as I structure my application neatly so that I will know where everything is. All right, I don't mind that. It's just my personal preference. But what I don't like is to have bloated controllers. I don't like to have a whole lot of if statements and different things in my controller. I'm not a big fan of that. That, like I said, that is just my own personal preference. So in this case, what I would normally do I will just create another post controller for the writer, okay? And then from there, I will return a view for that index, and I will just basically display it accordingly, right? I don't mind doing that, but like I said, this is totally up to you, all right? So if you want to follow along with me, you can do that, but if you have a different way of doing it, please do it that way, right? You can obviously just return it from here. That post will be depending on what if statement you have right there. All right. So what I'm going to do, if you want to follow along, so what I will do is I'll create a new controller. So if under app HTTP controllers, I will create a new folder right here, and I'm going to call it writer. All right. And from there. All right. So I'm just going to open up my terminal, and I'm going to create quickly a new one. So PHP artisan make controller. I'm going to create a new folder called writer, and inside that, I'm going to have a post controller. Right, I'm not going to create a resource controller. Okay, I can actually do a -I for invocable. Yeah, all right, so let's do that. So let's go to that one. So you will see we got under here, we got a new folder called writer. And you will see inside that we've got a post controller right there. So let me just close this off. All right, so what I want to do is I'm just going to delete all of that. I'm going to delete the request. All right, so what I want to do, I want to return a view. So return a view, and then this one will be under writer dot post dot index. Okay, like that. And I'm just obviously going to pass in the post. Right, so I'm just going to get the authenticated user, the auth. You know what? Let me just leave it like that. Let's just pass in the post, and we're going to get all the posts where the author ID. Right, let me just show you where this is coming from. So let's just open up our posts migrations table. You will see we have a foreign ID key of author ID right here. Okay, so we're going to check that one right there. Okay, so let's go there. So we're going to check if the author ID is equal to basically the auth ID. All right, so we're going to get that like that. All right, then we're going to just say paginate, because we don't know how many basically how many posts this user have, and I'm just going to paginate 5. You can paginate how many you want. Right? Okay, so we got that. So we're going to check the post where that is equal to that, and we just need to make sure we import the post. Okay, so after we've done with this, we need to go to create this view. So under resources, let me just do this. Resources, views, we're going to create a new folder, and I'm just going to call this one writer. And inside that, we're going to create a new folder called posts. And inside this, we're going to create a new file. We're going to call this one index.blade.php. All right. And then what we can do now is in our admin post.index, I can literally just copy everything in there and paste it in here like that. All right. So now I've got my 2 different views. And let's go to post right here, and I can actually put in the, let's do it like this. The auth, it's going to work best. Now let's leave the post for now. Right, so after that is done, so we need to go to our admin site nav. Right, so resources, views, dashboard, components, dashboard, admin, site nav, this one right here. Let's go to that post one right here. So this is basically our post.index. Okay, so where we display all the different posts. Okay, but what I want to do in this case, I want to have, if the user is a writer, okay, so I'm going to create this in a second. All right, add else writer like this, and I'm going to do an end writer like that. So if the user is a writer, let's go move this one up. So if the person is, in this case, if it's not a writer, it will display this post.index. If the person is a writer, let me just do this. I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to basically a new route in a second. So this will be admin dot, let me just copy this one. Right, admin dot, let me just go there, dot writer, okay, dot post dot index, okay. Or you can leave it the same, and we can just, instead of index, we can just change this to writer like this, okay. So I think this will be the best for me. So that means I don't have to actually create a new route group, just because I'm only needing for one. Right. So what I will do is admin post.writer, and then I will basically display all the posts of that writer. So I obviously haven't created this add syntax yet. So let's quickly do that. So let's go there. So under app providers, Blade service provider. So that's why I put this into its separate one. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this one down, and I'm just going to change the admin to writer. Okay, yeah, I want to copy it down, but let me just quickly write it out for anyone that might be new. So Blade, and we're going to do an if statement. Right, the next thing, this part right here, this is basically the add name, this name that we have right there. Okay, so that's the next name. Then we can add a function. We are going to have no parameters in there. And we're just basically going to return the user must be a writer. Okay, so let me just do that. User is a writer. Like this. Right, so, or in this case, we actually don't need to pass in the user. We can do auth user is a writer, like that. All right, so that's basically what we're going to return, and that's what we're having right there. All right, so obviously the next thing that we need to do is we need to create this route right here. So let's go to our admin route right here. Under the post, I'm just going to create a new one. As you can see, if you actually want the writer.index, you're just going to create another route group. But for one method, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to basically do this. All right. Now, another thing that I want to do, because you see the post controller have its own route for the admins. Okay. But there's another one for the writer. So let me just copy this one down. Writer like this. Okay. Writer post controller. Okay, let me just delete this part right here. But the thing is, those two will clash right there. Okay. But I'm going to change this to as writer post controller. Okay. So that these two controllers don't clash with one another. Right. So what I want to do in here is I will change this to be the writer post controller. Right. This one right here that I renamed to that. Okay. And I'm just going to change this one to basically go to that index method. If we go in here, actually we don't have an index method. So what I can do, I can just delete square brackets just like that. So I'm just calling that invocable method right there. And the route name right here will just be writer like this. All right. So now as you can see, it will go to admin, to this route group called post, and in there the writer like that. Okay. So just remove the square brackets like that, because for the invocable method. Okay. And the reason why I'm calling it writer controller is because I just brought in the controller of the writer post controller. These two names will clash in here. Okay. And I just changed it to be the writer controller so that we can correspond it accordingly. All right. So let me just save that and go to our view and see if we actually get the post. Right, before we do that, just make sure that you change the route name to writer or whatever you want. Otherwise, the two route names will clash with one another. All right. And that's it. Okay, so what I want to do, I'm going to log in as the admin user to see if I can see the writer's post, and I will log in as a writer to see if I can vice versa. All right. So as you can see, I'm logged in as an admin user, and right now I can see the admin user's post. Right, and I can see my Michelle Jones post. That's all good. So let me log out quickly. Right, so as you can see, I'm logged in as Michelle Jones, which is our writer. And as you can see, nothing changed there. She can go to the index view, and you can see she only can see her post right there. So everything works as expected. All right, so that's it for this one. What we're going to do in the next one is I'm just going to display all the writers right here. I don't want actually any, basically like a normal user to see the writers right here. This must only be if they are an admin or a super admin. They need to see this part right here. So basically the writers only need to see the post, and that's it. I only need to see this part right here for now, and obviously their profile. The rest of the stuff they mustn't see. Okay, so that's it. So this is the end of this video. So please give it a like if you like it. If you don't like it, please give it a thumbs down. And if you have any positive, negative feedback or any suggestions, please leave it for me in the comment section, and I'll see if I can get to that. I'm the last couple of lessons that I've done, I didn't do a full basically the dashboard part as well. So that's why I'm including it in this series, so that we can learn a whole lot of different stuff, because this part right here have a whole lot of things that we can learn about Laravel as well. But anyways, that's it from me, guys. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.